What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XRP today. What a miraculous day it is. It is the 5th day of November, and here we are at about $2.31 with 4 hours and 17 minutes left in this day. You guys, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's get into it. Okay, here we are, up 5% right now. Bitcoin today is up about 2.8%, so XRP outpacing Bitcoin there like 2 to 1. Nice to see. Very nice recovery. A bullish engulfing candle today after yesterday's drop. I would consider this the low of this range, not the scam wick, right? Not the scam wick there. So good looks so far. Very nice procedure so far. I'd like to see you continue to move higher. What you have right now, if we do take, let's just say we take away this wick. I think if we go on the Coinbase chart, it will get rid of the wick, or at least the dramaticness of the wick. Yeah, it's still there. It's still there, just not as dramatic. If we ignore the wick, and I am ignoring the wick intentionally, what we have here actually looks like a megaphone at the bottom. We've got a broadening bottom pattern here, a megaphone pattern, and we're looking to break out to the upside. Typically megaphones, and I can't draw a straight line to save my life, so let's just do this. Typically megaphones, we'll bring this up a little bit here, something like that. Bring it down. They have 5 moves. So you've got like, here's your starting point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's on that 5th move that you make the decision, are you going to break out to the upside or are you going to break out to the downside? What we're not looking for is what's called a partial rise, okay? We don't want to reach for this trend line and then come back down, right? You've got these trend lines here. You should come all the way up to this level. If you don't, or even above it's fine. But if you don't, if you get some kind of partial rise like this, you come back, the statistical probability that you break out of this to the downside goes up a good bit. So you don't want to see that. It's okay to find turbulence along the way, right? We can move up. We can move up like this, and that's fine. There can be a little bit of volatility here and there, but you just don't want to see any kind of persistent move down when you do find these little turbulent points, right? You don't. It just needs to be a quick little dip and then a rip back up. Okay, we want this to come all the way up here. With that, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves, and we'd be looking to break out hopefully to the upside. If this is a megaphone pattern, if it is what I think it is, then the low of the pattern here to what would perceive to be the high of the pattern here would be something like that, right? If we were to break out, that breakout should take us all the way up to $3.64, you guys, which is crazy because the breakout of this megaphone that we're perceiving to happen, right, we're forecasting it. It might be off by a little bit because we don't know exactly where it will top off at. So I don't know exactly where to put the breakout point. But it's basically going to take you right back to your all-time highs, which that's phenomenal. In other words, right, when we break out of this zone here, when we get above that price there, we should just teleport all the way up to 360 to 370. And a measure move, again, measure moves, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Measure moves are not prophecies. They're not requirements. They're just ideas. So we can fall short of that measure move. We can exceed that measure move. Who knows what we do, but something around our all-time highs would be what this pattern is targeting right now, this consolidation phase right here. So nice to see. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame. We'll zoom out from there. Okay. $2.31, $2.32 almost. 1 hour time frame, moving up very tenaciously, very methodically. We love to see it. Volume coming in a little bit. That's nice to see as well. RSI looks productive. You're getting into the overbought zone. We love to see that. The last time that you were overbought, and let's not even go the last time you were overbought, but the last time you got overbought after not being overbought for a while, right? Again, this getting overbought is more comparable to this part rather than this part because here you had already been overbought consistently, right? You're in a more bullish phase where here you were coming out of a bearish phase into a bullish phase, right? I would compare this more with this point over here. That's all I'm trying to say there. Okay, so with that in mind, comparing this, what we're doing now, with what we did last time, we were at a relative low point. We just came up. We were just figuring ourselves out. We had a whole lot more growth to go, didn't we? Over what was, from the 24th of October to the 27th of October, we went from a price that was basically at like $2.40 all the way up to a price at $2.70 in the matter of a few days there. So I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this week or certainly going into next week, we were back up at like 250 or higher. With that in mind, right? In other words, when we got overbought here, was that the end of the move? No, that was just the beginning of the move. We're just getting overbought now. Is this the end of the move? No, it's just the beginning. And we can verify that because look at this. You just broke out of this downtrend. You just broke out. You broke out here, back tested for support, and now you're running. You are literally just beginning this move. So 5% up today is nice, but you've got a lot higher prospects over the coming days and by the end of this week in mind. The MACD is crossing above the zero. We love to see that. The last time that the MACD on the 1 hour crossed above the zero, well, it didn't work out too well, did it? And the 1 hour is not always the most reliable, but the time before that, in congruence with what we saw, with what we're comparing here in the RSI, the time before that, when the MACD crossed above the zero, was actually the beginning of this move as well. So similar readings here as when we were back here. That's great to see. Stochastics very overbought. Lovely to see this after being so beat up for so long. It's great to see this kind of reaction and not just something that gets in and out, right? You want to see this kind of persistent behavior. So that's great there. If we're looking at the 4 hour time frame, the 4 hour MACD, there's some bearishness to this. I mean, we just flipped green, so that's nice. That can provide some relief, but that in itself is not the most exciting thing, I must admit, the 4 hour MACD. But we've been moving sideways. It might be less reliable because we're moving sideways. Stochastics look bullish. The stochastics definitely suggest that we go higher. And the RSI, I would also say, is suggestive that we go higher as well. We've got bullish divergence here, higher lows right here. You've got lower lows there, bullish divergence. That should be good for a move up at least to like 240, if not higher. So here we are at 231 right now, fully expecting that this move continues to push higher going into the end of today and even tomorrow upwards to 240 and beyond. Really, again, as we stated in the beginning, we're in this megaphone pattern, okay? We're expecting to break out to the upside. We're expecting to move up more or less here. Maybe we're in the process of a V-shaped recovery. Maybe we are. If this is a V-shaped recovery, we should very, very promptly approach prices that are here at about $2.54, and you probably do consolidate a little bit up here. Typically, V-shaped recoveries, you go right to where the V started, if not just above it, and then you kind of consolidate, right? So, and you can pull back, whatever. I mean, it just depends. Maybe we pull back down to this area to find support. We come up like this, and with that, sometimes V-shaped recoveries do give inverse head and shoulders pattern. Imagine that we come up here, we pull back down here to find support, boom, you've got literally a perfect inverse head and shoulder pattern right there. So something like that could be anticipated, something that moves up to about 250, 260, and then we pull back down to around like 240. Something like that might be exactly what we do. But I would expect this move here at 230.7 continues to move up at least to 240, if not likely higher, before we see any kind of significant consolidation. And when I say significant, I even mean just something like this, right? I mean something outside of just like intra 4 hour candle volatility, right? Something that's a little bit more persistent like this. Nothing crazy like this. I don't think we're going to consolidate like this until we're really done with this move all the way up to new all-time highs. But looking at the 4 hour time frame, the indicators are shaping up well. Definitely suggested that we would at least get to 240, if not higher, from here. Okay. Daily time frame, and something else to keep in mind too. If you're looking at the 4 hour MACD, my settings are not anything special. It's just the standard settings. So if you have a MACD and you look at your 4 hour time frame, typically, it's not always, this is not a guarantee, but typically, when the MACD, the oscillators cross above the zero, we get some consolidation. Imagine we move up at this pace or this pace here, and we get up to that zero, and it's Friday or Saturday. Typically, when you cross above the zero, look at this, right? Right as soon as we crossed above the zero right here, let's actually delete this so that we can see it a little bit better. It was probably about right there, okay? What did we do? Moved up a little bit higher, sure, but really you started to consolidate. And then the rest of the move pushed on. Same thought here. Maybe going in, it's Wednesday here, maybe we more or less move up going into Friday, and then we consolidate over the weekend, and then Monday comes along, and then we're rallying back to the upside, right? We got that inverse head and shoulders look. I wouldn't be surprised at all if XRP formed an inverse head and shoulders here. It's a bit preemptive. We don't even have the head formed yet, but we'll see. Anyways, XRP looking very good here. Some very voluptuous patterns. An inverse head and shoulder inside of a broadening bottom pattern would be very bullish, very, very bullishly perceived indeed, especially if we break out to the upside. We know that breakout will come not when we get above about 270, but when we're above, a little bit higher than that, maybe like 275, something like that. Probably when we get a day to close above this daily low close here. When we get above 275 on a daily closing basis, we validate that we are not just at the low point here, but that we are breaking out of this range overall and that we are pursuing new all-time highs. Because again, the measure move of this megaphone down here would take us to our all-time high area. And I can't imagine that if XRP goes here, that it's going to do anything but explore new all-time highs inevitably. And when it comes to exploring new all-time highs, we're going to sing the same old song and dance we've been singing and dancing to for about a year now, you guys. When it comes to new all-time highs, the expectation is that XRP will see a $13.50 price or higher by the end of 2025. Okay, you've hit the 1272, pulled back to the 886, consolidated here. I expect you're going to make short work of the $4 to $5 price range. You're probably just going to shoot all the way up to 641. find some turbulence there, whatever, continue to rally up to this $10.70 to $13 area and even beyond that. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if we did wick a little bit above the 200 level, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if it happened there, strictly because from an all-time high, or what was the all-time high for a long time, our 2 cycles ago, prior high to the bear market low there, our overall consolidation phase high to low, the 1414 is right here with the 200 level, and typically you don't stop at this level. Typically you do wick a little bit above there. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we went above $14 by the end of this, if not by the end of the year, then by the end of January. Going in later into the cycle, we should be progressing higher. I have a very hard time imagining that after all this consolidation that you see anything less, right? Like after this whole multi-cycle lifelong endeavor here of consolidating, I have a feeling that you're going to see nothing less, absolutely nothing less than a near $30 price by the end of the cycle. I personally do believe that we'll see something between $40 to $70, but time will tell. But that is my call for the end of the cycle. I've got nothing else for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. XRP is just consolidating in a very well-mannered fashion right up here atop of last cycle's all-time highs and the prior cycle's all-time highs, ready to get frisky. We're going to get frisky real soon here, you guys. It's going to be glorious. I hope that everybody's along for the ride. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, and bye-bye. Oh, by the way, where is it? Where is it? There was a meme, or not a meme. There was a notification here. I can't find it now, but they were talking about how Ripple went public, right? Hold on. Ripple. Yeah, Ripple News, sure, whatever. Let me just see here. They went public. FinTech Ripple gets $40 billion valuation after $500 million funding. So there's a lot of questions. Okay, so if Ripple's worth $40 billion, how is XRP worth $140 billion? Does that make sense? How could it see higher prices, right? If the company behind Ripple, but that's the thing, XRP and Ripple are different, okay? To think that Ripple's value has anything to do with XRP's value, maybe to some degree, but they're largely different things, totally different things, right? Ripple is a different ecosystem than XRP is, right? It's the same thing as like we don't value the total value of the United States is not based off of the total amount of value in US dollars, right? We can value, like imagine the United States of America had a denominated value. It was worth hundreds of trillions of dollars or quintillion dollars. I don't know how much it would be worth, $1 billion, whatever it's worth. That is not equal to the total value of the US dollar. Do you understand? Right? It's not equal to that, right? The total value of the US dollar might even be worth more than the United States, technically. Technically. Same thing here. The total value of XRP is not equal to the total value of Ripple. It's different. So if anybody's hearing this, you're seeing this story, and then now you're buying the FUD. Oh, if Ripple's worth $40 billion, we are clearly overpriced. You're thinking about it wrong. You're thinking about it wrong, okay? I should have started with that, but that was just a closing thought. At the end, I always think, I'm like, were there any other things that I wanted to talk about? And that was right on the tip of my brain there. So I got nothing else. Take care. Bye-bye. Adios.